All right, welcome back to the Life on Purpose podcast. Today's guest is Rhonda Berlino. Rhonda is an impact strategist and certified stress management coach and founder of Undeniable Impact Coaching. She helps impact driven high achievers thrive in the same way that she now thrives and teaches high achievers how they really can have it all: more professional success, more joy, more physical, mental, emotional stamina, and a life in line with their values, as long as they know what it all looks like for them. Her mission is to
Absolutely.
change the relationship the world has with stress and to be sure that she empowers those impact driven to make the impact they are born to make without damaging the precious relationships and health so sacred to them. Her online courses are designed to create stress management for her students that will not only change lives, it will change future generations. So, welcome, Rhonda Berlino.
Thank you so much, Brandy. I'm just excited to be here.
Oh, yes, this is such an important topic. And I know you and I were chatting a little bit before we recorded. We all get to it's almost like we're living in fast forward, just constantly go, 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 going. And we don't we don't feel these cues. We don't feel like recognize the signs that, yeah, we're about to hit a brick wall at 150 miles an hour and we may not, we may not make it out of here, right?
And then you go, how did I miss that?
Yeah, and how did I get here? I kind of crashed. So what mainly we're talking about today is burnout and this this kind of like, I don't know, way that we hide from ourselves and hide from the cues that the world is sending us. So I want to start from the very beginning.
Okay.
You have an interesting story. You got here for a reason. You do what you do for a reason. So start from the beginning. Tell me exactly your story, what happened, how you got here.
Okay. So I would tell you that I ran on fast forward for the majority of my life
Yeah.
and never once wondered why I was tired. I mean, so like, isn't this what we do?
Kind of your
Right?
natural state of being.
Yes. Like
Yeah.
if you are impact driven,
Mhm.
means you want to make a difference, right? Then everybody you see making an impact has a very full schedule and it seems normal.
Yeah.
When you look at motherhood, right? Look at other people doing motherhood and they're all doing it and they're not falling apart.
Yeah.
You know, you might catch them on a day when they're like a little messy, but they seem to have it even when it gets messy, right? So if you're the person that goes, I don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't have it today and it doesn't look like I'm going to get it anytime soon. You kind of go,
Yeah.
well, who am I then? We turn in and go, okay, I'm not the person that gets to have, I'm less than.
Yeah.
I can't handle whatever life has to bring to me. And that there's a lot in impact driven people. I know for sure most of my clients are high achieving, impact driven, identifying females pretty much. And so
So
born with
taking
that
breaks would be considered a failure. Is that
pretty
right?
much.
Is that kind of one of the signs of a high achieving person who may not recognize burnout or may contribute to their own burnout?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you this much.
Yeah.
If you are busy every moment of every day, if you don't have time for yourself, your busyness is a trauma response.
Yeah.
What it's doing is keeping you from looking at the things that you would have to look at if you took a moment to relax.
Yeah.
So
Nobody
take
wants
that
to be
in.
alone with their thoughts if they have trauma in their past because, yeah, when it gets too quiet, where else do you go but inward, right?
Well, right. I mean, and there have been times in my life when the clamor in my head was way busy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was not as busy, but just as difficult to deal with. Right.
Mhm.
So I had very harsh critic in my head all the time. And my own inner voice was not nurturing to me at all. That is also a tip you need to watch for.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about burnout, first I'll tell you my story
Yeah.
basically. My first burnout was probably when I was 14 years old. It was my first autoimmune issue as well.
Yeah.
14 years old. Um, Life growing up was privileged. Anybody from the outside would have gone, damn, Gina, you got it.
Yeah.
Like, you got this. Like, you got it dialed in.
Yeah.
For every intents and purposes, it looked like we lived this very privileged life. And I got to tell you, compared to underserved areas of my city where I live right now, where I grew up too, I mean, they deal with this all the time. But the fear that comes from living in that kind of a circumstance is real, and it impacts your life. And so let me kind of back that up. So I grew up in this privilege, kind of looks pretty on the outside, and on the inside, my father was struggling with alcoholism. And he wasn't just a let's get drunk and pass out kind of guy. His presence was definitely known, and it was definitely violent. So he was raging, and this is a very difficult thing for me. So what I was, the kind of child I was at that point in time, was the fixer.
Yeah.
I was the only, don't ask me why, I'm also the shortest, but I had the mouth, right? So I would say, Dad, stop. Because I thought he was going to kill my mom. You know, I was the one that would snap him out of it. And so I began to feel this hyper awareness, like all the time. If I, almost like your nervous system does, right?
Yeah.
The minute you smell something, you know, this set of circumstances go together, and you're like, okay, there's trouble coming up. Those are, by the way, like connected by neuroplasticity in my brain that say, if this thing happens, like if it's after 5 o'clock, Dad got off at 3, right? So if it's after 5 o'clock and there's a phone call that comes in and Mom closed the door, then I better watch out, because something bad's going to happen. So in the back of my mind for my entire life, until I figured it out, I was on hyper awareness, trying to keep myself safe.
Yeah.
And just that part of it, when I say those words, just the part of you you're growing up and you're like, okay, this asset with this hyper awareness works for you, because you are very in tune with what people do and where danger is and how you can make the best of life. And so it kind of looks like it's working for you to some degree, right?
Yeah.
I mean, professionally, my high achievers they are on it. They are on point. They know what's happening next, you know.
And thinking a million steps ahead, and never a moment's rest, because you're always calculating.
Right. Always. Like inside your GPS, right?
Yeah.
Recalculating. So that was going on in my life, even until 4 years ago. In 2017, well, first of all, I have 20 years in corporate Fortune 250 sales and business and personal development, right? So I would go to real estate agents and I would help them grow their business. Some of them brand new, I'd help them figure out how to build a team and all that. But the important part to me was it was meaningful. It was a big deal, and I knew how to help them, right? And for 20 years, I did that. I cared more for them than I did myself. I made them more money than I made myself, but I still had a certain amount of money, which to me equaled choices, safety, and a way to somehow control life that has been chaotic, right?
From the beginning, from day one.
Right. So 2017, I get to a place where I can literally not remember. Like, I'm sitting in front of clients and they're talking to me and I cannot remember the words that are coming out of their mouth. So I'm having memory, like short-term memory issues, right? Processing wise, the processing part of my brain will not process. I mean, like, I wish my face was flypaper. I was like, wait a minute, give me a minute with all of this, you know, and don't go away because I'll forget it. You know, at that point, if I had known then what I know now, what I would have seen is I was in fight or flight. So
Mm-hmm.
my brain, my prefrontal cortex was offline, right?
Right.
Executive functioning not happening. Wonder why? You know,
It was
because
overloaded. You had been overloaded for way too long.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, well, running in fight or flight too, your body's designed, first of all, having your nervous system constantly on alert means you're in fight or flight at the slightest emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this emotion that is like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I am so overwhelmed. Like, overwhelm came fast for me.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of there's no space between me and my reactivity, right? So my body was just symptomatic,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt terrible. Inflammation is like off the charts, you know. Anyway, so during that time, I took a little bit of a hiatus. I took 3 months, and 3 months is really the key to me in many times that I have done my burnout, because really what I do is all I can do when you don't have your all of your facilities, right? You start to take
Right.
care of yourself. You sleep. I was exhausted. I would run myself until I was exhausted. And at this point, though, I'm older, right? And
Yeah.
so now I'm starting to think, oh man, is something medically wrong with me, right? And so I start
Mm-hmm.
to take care of myself. You know, I get checked for like, is this early dementia? What's happening to
Yeah. All
me?
those scary places, right?
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so 3 months, I took care of myself, got all the tests. You know, the first thing I do is the assessment with blood tests, and
Mm-hmm.
blood tests in Western medicine um, just fall short because
Right. They're
they
fairly
get,
surface level. Yeah.
yeah, very much so. And I mean, you and I have a common friend, Dr. Kylie, who has,
Mhm.
beyond the diagnosis, and really, like, it should have been like at least 2 layers deeper in terms of what they
Way
ordered
more in
from.
depth.
But yeah, so they were like, oh, you're fine, like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, all those things, and everything seemed to be like within
Quote
the,
unquote normal range.
yeah, normal range.
Yeah.
Nothing about this normal people, nothing.
And
So
you still feel like death and can sleep 12 hours a day and still feel exhausted.
yeah, because this is the exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix,
Fix.
and that's where burnout comes in.
Yeah.
That because burnout is an emotional exhaustion. Okay, so if you want to define burnout, I'm going to get there in just a second. But
Yeah.
so 2017, I take three months off. I eat right. I get myself centered. I take on some meditation practices. I try to be good to myself. I did all kinds of therapy, all kinds of education. I got my certification for life coaching and my stress management certification, all of that, because at some point they're like, well, we can't help you. And was so sick of hearing, well, honey, you just need an anti-anxiety medicine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I had already tried that at one point. First of all, anything that has a side effect for me of suicidal tendencies, I'm like, no, wait, I already have enough issue.
Yeah. I don't need to be looking out for that side effect too.
Well, I mean, honestly, there's a place, and there's definitely a place for those meds. So I don't want to misconstrue that at all.
Yes.
I don't think it should be the first line of defense, though, because your body is sending you messages loud, loud and clear.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you recognize that it was burnout? Did you know what was happening? I mean, were you aware that you had overloaded your system for way too long and that you needed to find some better coping mechanisms, or was it complete confusion? Like, yeah, maybe I need a little rest, but you know,
Uh,
I'll be good in 3 months and back to normal.
the answer to that is, oh, hell no. And
Yeah.
I should have.
Yeah.
I mean, really, now that I think of it, but really what you're looking at, though, is if you're in this hyperactive state and your nervous system is in this hyperactive state, you are surviving.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing that you're thinking about. And it should be,
Yeah.
but beyond that, you should be thinking about other things. So what I thought about, though, was organizing the organizers. And instead of looking at things like, do I really need to do this? Do I want to do this? Does this feed my soul and energize me, or does it suck the life out of me?
Yeah.
Though I didn't think about those things, because to me, And this is the scary thing, that one of the reasons that I do this work, because it looks like everybody else is doing the same thing
Yeah.
and other people look successful about it. And so maybe I'll just get better at it. I'll get better, and that's and we'll be all right. And maybe I'll, implement this or whatever. Or you also think, like, there was a period of time where there was the financial meltdown, and then there was, losing houses in the rest of the world, and this horrible financial thing. So that took some. And then my father died at the same time. And then I was fighting for my mother-in-law's life and all that. So really what I thought in 2017 is, you just need a break. And so I took 3 months. And for me, that was just, that was great. I didn't go on a cruise or do anything like that because I really couldn't. I just didn't feel well enough to do that. So I went back to work, and really pretty much back into the same thing.
Yeah.
Back into the same thing. And so on this day in May in 2019, I found myself waking up going, I don't think I can get out of bed. I know that I should go to this meeting because the big national guy was there, and it's like mandatory. And so if I don't go, I could lose my job.
Yeah.
And so already in bed, I'm feeling the anxiety and the elephant sit on my chest, so the first thing I said to myself was, this job is going to kill me. Well, shouldn't talk to your brain like that. So it goes, oh, note to self. Okay, I'm going to get her out of that job.
Right. Isn't it really interesting how we can get to that point of knowing that, this job may kill me, but I'm going to go ahead and get up, and I'm going to see how long I can possibly keep doing this. It'll get better, right? It'll get better. Yes.
Brandy,
I'll get better.
I got in the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if this is like, I couldn't even have a heart attack, right?
Right.
I couldn't. So the fact that I got dressed and got ready, and I thought, like, I'm sick to my stomach. There was shooting pains up my left arm, like all the everythings,
Yeah.
right? And I get in my car anyway. Like, who in their right mind does that? But I did that.
Yeah.
And I drove like I was going to go to work, right, to this meeting. And something inside me said, you are white knuckling this car. I mean, like, I was holding on to the steering wheel, like, no,
Yeah.
like there was no tomorrow, knowing that anything could happen at any moment. And so I opted to go to the hospital, right? So I didn't get on the freeway. That was just too much risk for other people. And remember,
Yeah.
it's really easy for me to take care of other people more than it is myself. And so when it came to, well, we can keep them safe, then, then I go to
I will take on as much as I can possibly take on.
Uh-huh.
And I will keep these people safe, but I'm not, this is not about me. And obviously through the patterns that you had kind of gone through for all those years, that's exactly what you had been doing, worrying so much about other people, your clients, your job, your father, your family,
everybody,
all this stuff. And then you're still, like, as you're having a complete breakdown, are worried about the people on the freeway.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting too, because it's no fun to live like that. I remember thinking, I am a plug and play resource for somebody. Nobody else has to be in the room. They go, call Rhonda. So Rhonda would go there and go, all right, what is it? And I'm looking around, and people are on their phones, and they're not involved in the fix at all. I'm fixing it. Right. So then you build this resentment kind of thing, which is really kind of ugly.
Yeah.
It feels ugly. It looks ugly on the outside. It's just not a good thing. So anyway, I decide I'm going to go to the emergency room, where I promptly sit in my car and go, this is a little dramatic, Rhonda, really. It's a little dramatic.
Isn't it funny how you can talk yourself out of
but
what could or could not be a heart attack? Who knows?
So, but my body was telling me to do this thing. So I get there, I did what my body said, and it seemed to, like, ease up. So I'm like, okay, maybe it was just for that minute. But I call my girlfriend, and she's one of those that has been very enlightened for a long time, and energy is her gig, right?
Yeah.
So I said, Tamara, what is this energy? Because I felt this energy swirling in my chest like it was going to squeeze the life out of me,
Mhm.
literally squeeze my heart until it stopped. Because that's how much pressure was on my chest. Ridiculous. And she said, Rhonda, where are you? And I said, I'm in a parking lot. She goes, where? And I go, at the hospital. She goes, walk in, go in right now. Go
Yeah.
in right now. I'm hanging this phone up and I want you to call me. I mean, I want to know what's going on when you're inside. So texting her from inside. So the bottom line there was they took all these tests and my husband met me there and all of the tests were inconclusive.
Mhm.
Everything looked fine except this very handsome cardio dude comes up and says, I can keep you overnight,
Yeah.
but really, your cortisol levels are off the charts.
Yeah.
So if I was going to diagnose you, I would say this is an anxiety attack. That
Mhm.
being said, there's something going on for sure. You need to check in with your cardiologist and take it easy. Just take it easy. I'm like, okay, great. So straight to the cardiologist's office, and 30 days past that. So he's like, don't move. So I'm laying still for 30 days, except to go get things because to go get tests because
Yeah.
they're not sure if my heart is operating properly. So making a long story a bit shorter, I go back to my cardiologist's office 30 days later to find out what all of the tests say. And he showed me. He said, Rhonda, look at your heart. Look at this. Look how steady, how stable the beat is. Look at that. And now we're going to put you under some pressure. I want you to see how it barely skips. It is still there. It is strong for you. It's responding for you.
Mhm.
This heart is a heart that's beating that can do great things. These are the arteries that are going, opening and closing. Things are working as they should. But all of the stress you're under will make that stop. In case you hadn't noticed, that stress is the underlying issue for some of the top 5 diseases in America.
Yeah.
So you need to figure out how to reduce your stress. And I will never forget feeling so alone and just looking at him going, are you telling me you can't help me?
Because there's
And
no pill for that.
no,
It's
no,
all on you.
that's right. So he said, I'm telling you that the work you have to do is inside you.
Mhm.
I will work on your heart. I will help you measure how much better you're doing.
Yeah.
But this is not my gig. This is for you. And I said, well, just saying, typically the person that gets you into trouble is not the same one that gets you out of it.
Yeah.
So now what?
Except in this case.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that moment, I thought there should never, in this world that
Yeah.
is so hyper busy, there should never be a time when a cardiologist or a general physician should not have the number of someone who can sit with someone who's in a hyper state in a very stressed circumstance and to help them. Like if I had bruises all over my face and I was beaten or something, right? They would have fixed me up, they would have hooked me up with a therapist or social services might have come, whatever. But
Yeah.
something that's inside like that is just not as easy to hold on to. It's just not something that you can go, oh, there's the situation, unless you get at the root of it. And for me, that was a story. Root causes are the issue without question. And now, I mean, this was 2019. Had I not, so I did not go back to my job. I was so
Was
sick.
that it for you? Was that it for you like that day?
Yeah,
I
done.
mean, did you recognize that day, like, this is what is killing me? The amount of stress that I'm under with this job, with the lifestyle that I've created with this job, I can't do it anymore. Did you
So,
recognize it right then?
so through that whole month, I thought, if I am not the person that can fix everything,
Mhm.
who am I if I am not the person who can make a 6-figure salary? Who am I if I cannot even take care of myself?
Right.
You know, who am I if I cannot, if I'm at this point where I'm not the fix it girl anymore, then who am I? And really, the answer to that was I am frightened.
Yeah.
I am not safe. And
And
that,
that went back to the beginning for you.
yes, yes,
Yes. With your story, with your history.
yeah.
So let me ask you, because I feel like, a lot of these high impact careers, these really stress inducing jobs
Mhm.
do create a lifestyle for people that is desirable. How does one realize that the job that pays you so much money and that gives you, kind of this ego boost and this
Feeling of
excitement
control.
is also the thing that's really harming your health? How do you let go of that? Because I think so many of us are like, well, I need to be, I need to make this amount of money to be successful. I need to have this kind of title to be successful. I need to be, when really maybe we should reevaluate what success means to us so that those things are easier to let go of when they're killing us.
So true. That's so true. But here's the, I mean, do you recognize? So I loved my father without question,
Yeah.
and he could have killed me and my mom and
Yeah.
without question.
Mhm.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so the things that form the belief that even though this thing may kill me, this is just what life is. So yeah, you don't play it right, you die.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And
this,
that's,
you kind of, you reach a point where you look at it as, well, this is just my lot in life. This is just the
yeah.
card that I was dealt. So I need to make the best of it, even if, I feel like complete garbage all the time and my health is suffering and I don't have any energy and I'm not finding joy where I should be finding joy, but it's fine. This is just the way life is supposed to be. How easy is it to talk yourself into that?
Uh, okay. So for a while, it's pretty easy to talk yourself into the fact that, okay, I just need a minute, or I need a vacation,
Yeah.
or I need some fun in my life. And all those things I tried to implement in it too. But the underlying issue was this. Um, there was no place for me in my life.
Yeah.
So to say it simply, when there's time for me in my life, there's a primer for great productivity,
Right.
aligned productivity that is stronger, faster, smarter than anything I've ever done. Because mistakes get made when you run around rushing. Your brain's not all there, your executive function's not there. I remember saying to my father, I don't know how you made the millions you made.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was pretty much drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he got sober and made the millions sober and with me. So we did a joint venture, and we
Yeah.
actually got to see that. So I started to learn from what I had seen and what my child liked, the childish beliefs that you come up with,
Right.
like this is just what it is, and I can be tough and I don't have to listen to my emotions and stuff. When I ended up in the hospital, knowing I could not, I mean, this, how many times do you need to hit this wall to figure
Right.
out that your head's going to crack open and you're
Mhm.
going to die? Because I honestly thought I was going to die. And I'm like, I can't die without the books in me. I can't die with, the song in me. It's like, no, I worked my butt off for my entire life, and there's so much more to it.
Right.
So at that point, how easy is it? It was simple. It was simple. It was a decision.
Mhm.
I don't have to know what happens next. This is what I know, and what I feel so grateful to know is that I was the one betraying my body.
Right.
My body would not betray me, and it didn't. So in my practice, oftentimes people come to me with the same issue, right?
Yeah.
And they go, I feel like I'm just falling apart. Like there's cracks in the exterior. And I'm like,
Just
oh,
trying to hold it together.
but your body, these stress fractures is what I call them.
Yeah.
And it's your body's message to you that some light needs to come in, some enlightenment needs to come into that crack, into that very small place. It's actually saying, Just take this small part. You are not going to fall apart if you look at this, just the crack in your armor, right? Because we all walk around all armored up thinking we have it all together until we don't,
Well,
right?
sure. I mean, who likes to look at those parts? That's a
Yeah,
really
no,
hard thing
good.
to ask somebody to do.
Seriously, after the longest time,
Yeah.
I said, why? I don't need forgiveness. I
Mhm.
don't need an apology. I I just need my life to be good, right?
Yeah.
So the reasons for these meltdown kind of things started making sense to me.
Yeah.
So now let me go to what burnout,
Yes.
what got me to studying burnout. Because first, like we talked about earlier, if you would have said, "Oh, sounds like you're burned out," that means your light's gone out to me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take your lights out too.
That offends me.
No, wait a minute. No, I have a lot more in me. Don't you
Yeah.
tell me I'm all used up. But that is a reflection of how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt just used up and spit out,
Yeah.
literally, because all the things that I did when it came down to looking at it were meaningless, literally meaningless, except for the fact that I was able to keep myself somewhat safe. So, burnout. I'm going to use the definition by Henrik Friedenberger. So, burnout defined is an emotional exhaustion. There's three parts: emotional exhaustion. So, that's the fatigue that comes from caring about too much for too long.
Yeah.
The second thing is depersonalization. So, the depletion of empathy, caring, or compassion. Like you just can't care anymore,
Yeah. There's no
right?
room. There's no room for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No room and no good for it. It's spent,
Yeah.
right? And a decreased sense of accomplishment. My impact people, I want you to hear this because we do need that. We are hardwired to make a difference in the way that we are here to make that difference.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I, in my practice, am very person-centered, individualized treatment.
Yeah.
Is individualized. Everyone sees things differently. Everyone has experienced different trauma, different. They have different belief sets. They have a different attachment methods. They have different backgrounds, right? And so there are different drivers that are impacting the path ahead of them. And so really being a traffic kind of control person
Yeah.
for what the root causes are, I believe so wholeheartedly that when we are in the lane that we are supposed to be in, we are so much stronger.
Right.
So do I suggest to anyone that they should stop right now and let's figure out what your lane is? Nope. But I think I think when you slow down enough, when there is space for thought, right? Your
Yeah.
executive function comes back and you start to pay attention to the things that make you feel alive. You start to give yourself permission to be who you want to be,
Right.
to say no, to say yes to things that light you up, to gravitate to the. Rumi has a quote, right? It is about gravitating to the pull, your inner pull, right? So I can listen to podcasts or read a book or listen to somebody's story and go, oh my God, that's fascinating. Hold on to those moments
Yeah.
when your entire body is fascinated.
Right. And I feel like, and we kind of touched on this a little bit before we started recording, is that for me, it almost directly ties to a bit of a spiritual crisis. And I don't mean that in a religious way, but a crisis of your spirit.
Existential.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Existential crisis. I mean, really it is, because just like man's search for meaning, hardwired to go, why am I doing
Right.
what I'm doing? And what am I getting for that? Like, so do I feel like I'm doing the right thing? Eventually, a lack of impact is going to
Yeah.
tell you you need to adjust your sails, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the navigation tools that you have, and you look at the results you're getting,
Yeah.
and you go, maybe not. Maybe I'm, a little bit off here. But the emotional part of this is really important. Emotional exhaustion is the exhaustion that sleep will not fix.
Yeah.
It is bottomed out, gutted. I can't. It's
Yeah.
just a miserable place to be. And depending on your health, getting yourself to that place is a really bad. It could not end up very well. Let's put it that way. If you already have depression kind of circumstances,
Yeah.
and stress leads to that, right? So stress
Kind of
feeds
fuel
that
on the
depression.
fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not healthy. That's one of the reasons why, because I knew my father already, had his issues with depression because he was self-medicating with alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And so DNA would say, here you go. So what did I do? I had my DNA panel taken. This is a primer for production and a life beyond your imagination. So if I tell you right now that you've never thought, oh my gosh, what am I capable of? People
Yeah.
don't look because they're afraid they won't like what they see. But seriously, these bodies of ours are nothing short of miraculous, no matter how beaten they are.
No matter how much we abuse them.
Seriously, they are
They're
so,
very forgiving.
yeah. So, I mean, even if it's not perfect,
Yeah.
I mean, perfection's boring. We are all like, we're all humans,
Yeah.
Homo sapiens, okay? It kind of stops there. Everything then is unique. And that is the superpower. The thing, the thing that maybe hurt you, the things that I dealt with, like growing up as an adult, the child of an alcoholic, I thought, okay, well, I'm just always going to have these issues.
Right.
Like I'm always going to be too broken for relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story. I have a 20-year marriage, and that could not have been farther from the truth. But that, in that state, that's what I thought. So fast forward to getting being in the emergency room now, I'm getting better test parameters.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not who you're asking the question of, it's what the question is that you're asking.
Yes.
And so, running into people like you, Brandy, and like I tell my clients all the time, and like Dr. Kylie, they're saying, look, there's something else going on.
Right.
And so I think we as a species are in a much more enlightened spot. There is a change happening, and you can see it. Even from like the big bad insurance companies. Sorry, that's kind of how I feel about it, because they run the care, right? And you have to
Yeah, don't get
run
me
circles
started.
around them. Yeah, right. So, but I mean, there is definitely a change in the zeitgeist where that is concerned.
Yeah.
And one of the things that made me realize that was really the pandemic. Like 2020, the world slowed down. And what was the first thing? Everybody went inside, right?
Yeah.
What was the first thing we started seeing? Like we saw pictures from Italy where the pollution in the canals were clearing. Like the earth was kind of healing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, so we are obsessed with consumption.
Right.
And it's kind of an addiction. And it's really a cover up for going deeper. And really what it's working as is a tool to drive us to burnout, which is the place where you can't help but listen.
Completely. And like we were talking about before, burnout, kind of this skyrocketing amount of people that are dealing with chronic stress that manifests as physical ailments in your body, a physical breakdown, inflammation in the brain, inability to think, autoimmune disease, all of these things that are fuel on the fire for the physical ailments that you have inside of you. We're doing it wrong. We are doing life wrong. If you cannot find joy, if you're incapable of finding joy in the life that you've created, you're doing it wrong.
We forgot how to play.
Well, and it's almost like we've created an image around what life should look like, and it looks like stress. If you're not working
Yes.
your ass off from dawn to dusk with no life, you're doing it wrong.
Seriously, it
So
looks,
the image needs to shift.
instead of being a badge of honor, like
Yeah.
if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Like, oh yeah, that's me. I
Yeah.
got it. Like
Yeah.
all of those things
Mhm.
that has to change. And
Right.
I also, for the moms out there or anybody who relates to the feminine persuasion of
Yeah.
nurturing, right?
Yeah.
There's a real situation there. And it's akin to I can do everything. So money for me meant I could hire somebody to help me, like
Mhm.
help me clean my house or whatever. And it looked like I was handling it just fine, but nobody said, do you have help? And I didn't say I have help. I was busy doing other things.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so really what I think is important is in these groups, we need to say, this is what it takes for me to do it.
Right. And what's interesting is, and I don't know about you, but if you're getting help elsewhere, you tend to fill that time that you
Oh yeah.
get by hiring help, fill it up with something else. It's almost like, and I had a client the other day, and we were talking about stress management, and she had tried these tools, meditation, and even the float tank, where it's sensory deprivation, and it drove her crazy. The inability to be quiet or to
Yeah.
be alone with your thoughts
Absolutely.
or
Yep.
to shut everything off. Has been going for so long that she's literally incapable. It is so incredibly uncomfortable to sit with herself in
Right.
silence. Like, we have reached a point where we are incapable of quiet, like being with our own thoughts. Because I think, for a lot of people, that is a scary thought, to be alone with your thoughts because
Because we'll
you've
beat ourselves
ignored
up.
them for way too long.
Yes, well, absolutely. And so here's the interesting thing about two interesting things about emotion that I think are tips in terms of, like, understand if you do these things, you're not shutting off one emotion and the
Mhm.
rest of your emotional life is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're stuffing your emotion, you're stuffing it all. So
Yeah.
your relationships suffer, your intimate relationships suffer because of your inability to connect on an emotional level. You miss an entire facet of life because life and the beauty of it to be appreciated is an emotion by itself,
Right.
right? So, emotions, if you look at emotions, I love the way that the Nagoski sisters explain this. They have a book and it's called Burnout. I highly recommend it, but they talk about an emotion like a tunnel. So an
Mhm.
emotion has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if we are running so fast and we don't want to feel, we don't even we get the emotion and stuff it.
Right.
So we are carrying in our bodies emotions that have not been worked out.
Mhm.
What is the reasonable solution to that? What is a place where you can start? I'll tell you, working out. Seriously, there are different ways that you can complete an emotion. Like the first part of the emotion is, oh, I see this emotion. This takes space, by the way,
Yeah.
space between your emotion and you're reacting to it, right?
Right.
And that space is created when life is slower, not faster. But that being said, so there's a beginning of the emotion. You go, oh, I feel this. The middle of it is some kind of reckoning, reasoning. Is it true? Is it always true? Who am I with that emotion? Who am I without that? But like, you get a choice to do that and you can dismiss it, but there's always a physical component to releasing it. And so I think one of the reasons I didn't burn out more is because I love to work out because I
Yeah.
needed the endorphins and stuff. But moving your body, even if you're like, before I go on stage, I'm jumping, 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 jumping to get the nerves, get the emotions of excitement, even to a
Yeah.
place where it's my nervous system knows I got this.
Yeah.
So creating a relationship with your nervous system so your body trusts you. Similar to being able to lose weight because you feed your body correctly and it goes, oh, okay, I'm not going to have to be in fight or flight and save all this fat
Right.
because I trust her to do this. Now, this would be a very foreign kind of thought process for me because I rarely took time to think about these things.
Yeah.
I just thought that was how things were, but that is not how they are now. So, your nervous system, to get it on your side, means that you can produce and do things that other people can't do. In high achievement, this is what that looks like. SEAL teams,
Yeah.
okay, they know their body. Why? Because it's their vehicle.
Right.
That's what they use to keep them safe, to carry out the journey, to also contain what the emotion is until it's time to work it out. So they know it. So a primer for productivity, for impact, and for doing better work in a better way is to know who you are and befriend your body. Listening to your body is the smartest thing you can do. So let me tell you, I used to have such a hard time making decisions. And like I had to just do it all, right? Because I couldn't really decide whether or not, by the time I figured out whether or not I should, I could have had it done. So I just did it.
Yeah.
So whatever. I don't recommend that thought process, by the way. But what I realized was in order to find out the life that my body is intended to live, when I was in the hospital, that feeling of constricting in my chest, that limited life sucking feeling was a hell no. So when I had an opportunity to do something, I would say, should I do this podcast with Brandy? Oh, I felt expansive. I felt possibilities and potential that you just don't even know, unlimited, right?
Right.
If
So
I
those are the cues that you listen to when you're making
exactly,
decisions.
absolutely.
Right.
And even maybe you feel expanded, but there's a certain amount of holdback. The
Mhm.
timing might not be right. Right? So you go, oh, I want to do that, but not now.
So
So
exploring, going through like the process of how you feel, what your holdback is, kind of asking yourself these questions and working through it rather than kind of what you would have normally done and just go 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 go, yeah 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 yeah, sure 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 sure, I'll do all of this
yeah,
and take on
yeah.
too much.
I mean, I was constantly overscheduled. I mean, and being late to something for me was just like, it was terrible because everybody said, that's a sign of disrespect. And I'm like, I was just trying to get everything together.
Yeah.
And myself. And when you put yourself last, first of all, if you are the person that has grown up with at least one person in your home as an alcoholic, there is no identity of who the self is
Yeah.
because you don't give yourself the right to be an entity that matters because
Mhm.
really all that matters is survival. So you don't
Self-preservation.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And not that my dad or my mom ever said that. I mean, they did say things like, you're precious, we love you, whatever, but in the reality of what my body got, I was busy surviving. And
Mhm.
that is the thing that concerns me about busy life.
Yeah.
Like we get busy is back. I'm so excited I can go to lunch with my girlfriends and I hear people going, ah, I forgot what it was like to have to go pick up the kids and do this and
Right.
here we go. And I hear people saying, I just can't do this. I don't know how I did it
It,
before.
it it happened very quickly. I mean, we're obviously talking about, during COVID and then kind of this um time that we're in where everybody's kind of getting back out and doing this, and it was almost like we didn't really learn our lesson during that whole shutdown. We can't just dive right back in to the crazy schedules that we had before and think that it's okay. Well, I had a year break. I'm good now. Well,
Yeah.
were you? Were you good before? So what
Was
makes
it
you think
really a
that you're going to
break?
be good when you dive right back into it. Like if we're going to take any lessons from that, let's minimize.
Well, I mean,
I'm such a
honestly,
minimalist anyway, so that kind of lifestyle drives me absolutely crazy. I can't handle it. I'm very minimalist in my schedule. I prioritize, that's just me. My stress comes from other places. But so this like fast paced, crazy shove as much as you possibly can into your day, I would die. It would literally kill me. It would kill me.
well,
It would much quicker than it would kill you, probably.
it's interesting because I mean, so I have a grown child, so I don't
Yeah.
deal with my own children, but many of my clients are moms, and they are new moms, and they are adjusting.
Yeah.
So not only are they finding like their children, one of my clients has a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And the 8-year-old came to her and said, I think I don't want to live anymore. I can't do what everybody else
Wow.
does. And so my client came to me and said, what in the world do I do?
Yeah.
How did she learn that? And so talking to her, the deal for her was she didn't learn any coping skills. It was just run fast, just go. So people are coping with life by just running through it. Okay.
And ignoring how they feel about it on the way. We don't
Because
know
they
how
don't,
to be with our emotions or
right.
even process them.
And I'm telling you, the emotional intelligence that you gain from your body
Mm-hmm.
is like rocket fuel for your
Right.
success. It is. And for all your relationships, life becomes better. You get to play
Yeah.
too.
That is a really important thing. If we were to take anything from this conversation, it would be that is that busy can oftentimes lead to emotional immaturity.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it is a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know how to function in our brain with
Yeah.
our emotions, right?
Right.
So to me, what needs to be the courage, the bravery that is necessary, I see women doing all the time.
Yeah.
But I see them doing it out of like, I am building the life that I want and I can't do it. Now
Right.
what? Right, because this is what I thought.
What
So
does this
like
mean?
just so if you just in a heterosexual kind of relationship in the United States, if you signed up for the family thing,
Mm-hmm.
these are the stats. Your job description, on top of a job you might already have,
Yeah.
your job description is you are 10 times more likely than men to tend to childcare, senior care, chores, scheduling for the house, like all the home management, any volunteering in like kids school and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, that's on you too. Homework, kids projects, um, staying home when kids get sick, 10 times more likely than a man. Um, Also, you have 10 more hours per week of housework, 6 more hours of childcare.
Yeah.
You're 2 times as likely to manage household chores as others, and you are the person that is managing the thought process. So that thought process is like
Right.
the little clock that's ticking in your head. That is like a little time bomb that says, I am spinning plates. I'm spinning plates.
Right.
Right? Okay, so when you have a partner with you, the thought process, the ability to spin plates needs to spread to both,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But technically, we're hardwired for that nurturing kind of thing, right? And so I
Sometimes
think,
it's hard to pass the plates because you want it to be done correctly.
ah,
And I say that, I
perfectionism.
mean, I say that jokingly, but
Sure.
I mean it.
So it's true. I mean, we do, women,
Yeah.
people who identify as women have much more nurturing
Yeah.
um, concepts. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just much more nurturing beings, and it doesn't make those that are not nurturing worse. But what that
Right.
means is this: look, the kids' sports,
Yeah.
that into sports, awesome. You
Yeah.
got their sports. I need to know when I should show up there or whatever. Like you could do that. You could divide things in a way that it works, but asking for help is hard sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, most of the time for me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So I had to learn, but I am so good at helping, like when
Yeah.
I can see it. Here's the thing. We love it. We love nurturing babies. We love being at their school things. We love
Yeah.
doing their projects. We love all of it. So in my burnouts, I would say I love all of it. What would I stop? What would I stop doing?
How do you choose what to say no to?
Yeah. What do you choose? So you don't choose to say no to. You choose a partner who can help you so that
So
you both
delegating
enjoy
some.
all of
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can both enjoy all of it. And the other thing is, like that comes with a give and take, right? So
Yeah.
let's just say the groceries. In my house, my pleasure, my privilege is that my husband calls me every night and says, "What do we need from the grocery?" I'm like, I couldn't believe it when we started living together
Yeah.
back in the day. He does it every day.
So
His
very helpful and kind of
that's
considerate in that area. Sure.
and he's checked in to what our life together is like.
Yes.
So high impact people often go, the external thing is what is most important. And I will just function here. I don't need much. Right. And so they get a
Mhm.
life that doesn't look like much.
Yeah.
And it obviously is not as fulfilling as it looks like to only have that external thing. So you're
Lacks the
doing each
joy.
other a great disservice by one person trying to hold all of it.
Yeah.
Because there's resentment that builds up there too, and that's like a huge problem in marriages.
So then your
Absolutely.
relationship starts to break down.
Absolutely. And
Kind
who
of this
wants to have
trickle down effect of all of this, yeah, all of this
how are you
responsibility.
intimate with someone who doesn't care enough to have their brain in the game
Yeah.
where your kids are and all that? I mean,
Yeah.
not me. My sisters used to make fun of me because I've stayed single for a long time because
Yeah.
I knew that I just picked the wrong guys until I did my therapy. I
You
just
needed to
picked
be
up.
absolutely sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. But anyway, I would say no man of mine
Yeah.
because for me, I need somebody that can hold space with me for the life that
Yes.
we build. And honestly, they want that too. They are not hardwired for that. So I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not at all, talking down someone like that. What I'm saying, male or female, if you're the person, because I mean, I have a lot of masculine push,
Right.
masculine
I've actually done a podcast in the past where we were talking about this. We have this balance, each of us, male and female, that has a balance of the masculine energy and the feminine energy. So
Mhm.
we have each of those. It's a
Yeah.
matter of where that balance is and how that manifests in your life. Um, so okay, so someone comes to you, this is their situation. They just don't know how to get themselves out of this burnout. What are some of the steps that you start with? Like, how does someone start to learn and recognize what their signals are, what their needs are, and how to start digging themselves out?
Okay. So gently.
Yeah.
So be compassionate with yourself. And I know that's a hard thing to do,
Yeah.
but if you have realized this, this needs to stop right now, I would tell you that usually you're in a really highly symptomatic place. So it's hard to do much decision making at all.
Yeah.
Like your prefrontal cortex is not thinking how to solve anything. You're still in fight or flight, and your nervous system is like pissed.
It's
Like
shocked.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
like it's all over the place,
It's
right? So,
angry at you.
right. So
Yeah.
the first thing that I would say is I have physicians, my OBGYN for 30 years or something, knows me very well.
Yeah.
And she will tell me like it is, but I go to her so I can check hormones
Yeah.
and body levels, vitamin D levels, and there's a whole litany of things. Magnesium for some people is like life-saving. For me, it totally is.
Sure. I mean,
Right.
that's a nervous system nourisher.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like, wait, well, that's right. Like
Yeah.
I would call somebody like a you or a me and
Mhm.
say, can you help me coordinate this? Just because being in a place where you don't really have the facilities to change things,
Yeah.
you can get yourself to feel better, but it won't change.
Yeah.
So having somebody accountable there is really helpful.
Yeah.
Um, I started with tests, primarily because I wondered, I had Epstein-Barr virus and chronic fatigue and Hashimoto's, that, so I
Yeah,
am
the
no
the
stranger.
litany of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yours manifested very physically. So
Yes.
you've got
And
imbalances both physically and kind of emotionally.
absolutely. And I
Yeah,
mean, mentally, there's no question, in terms of serotonin for me,
sure.
no question. And I've had an unopened prescription for anti-anxiety meds for a long time. But what
Mhm.
I found was this: the rawness that you feel at the beginning, I just sat with.
Yeah.
I just sat with it in a journal and I wrote it, because then I took the journal to the doctor that understands my feelings. As a
Yeah.
woman, like a woman doctor is the best.
Yeah.
Functional doctor, yeah, totally. Somebody who sees how you're functioning.
As a whole.
Yes,
Yeah.
as a whole being, right?
Yes.
Because let me just say this. So I did not realize how important what I thought was
Mhm.
to my brain. There's if you say something, instead of saying, well, that was an idiot move, like, you're so not good at this, or this job's going to kill me. Instead, I would say to my brain, okay, lesson learned. You're on your way. You're
Right.
on your way, because you need these lessons, right? So
Mhm.
you're on your way, and your brain says, release this chemistry, feel good chemistry. Remember this, because she likes this.
Mhm.
Let's help her do that some more.
Yeah.
So you eventually get your body back online with itself.
Yeah.
And then you make sure that you every day have those still times. I can tell you, because I have a lot of energy, and I'm an extrovert, tested extrovert, right?
Yeah.
So I already had enough energy. And when I was with people, I would get so um, energized that I would feel like I was spinning. I mean, seriously, like the adrenaline. So I had adrenal fatigue after a while
Yeah.
from all of
It
that.
was too much. Too much
Too
cortisol
much.
all the time.
See, how is it possible
Yeah.
to be too much and not enough at the same time?
Yeah.
Here's how it's possible: because your brain is the thing that thinks you're not enough.
Yeah.
Your emotion has told it, hold on, I'm not safe. I can handle this. I cannot handle this.
Yeah.
So the way that you talk to yourself is so important. What you put inside is important. I was drinking coffee to try to stay awake. I
Yeah.
was, I mean, at one point in my life, I was taking diet pills because I just didn't, want to be fat, and I didn't have time to work out.
Yeah.
And it also helped me focus in some ways. God knows, scattering amount of ways, but
Yeah.
it was there. So, I mean, not using anything to stimulate your body, but to feel how you are. And if your body says, I'm tired, I need a nap, do it.
Yeah.
If you do, I mean, like, there are times at the very beginning when I did the yoga nidra, the
Oh,
yoga
that's the
nidra kind of,
best. Yes.
yeah. Well, here's the deal. I'm a high achiever.
So
Production is good
you
for me.
can't shut it off. Yeah.
Good thing is, if you tell me something that's taking care of me actually benefits me, like, this is like sleeping for 3 hours. I'm like, dude, in 20 minutes, I can sleep 3 hours, done. You
Yeah.
know? Like, I'm on it. But anyway, so if you are in a spot where you want to change your life, slowing down is the best way to do it. And you can see it on a global scale, right? And so busy is back.
Completely.
And I'm saying to people who are looking at their lives now and trying to be intentional, create the life that they want on purpose,
Yeah.
where there seems like there is no other way to do it, or where you find yourself going, other people do it, why can't I?
Mhm.
Toss that thought and pick up a phone, call someone,
Right.
right? Call there. I give away a ton of free information all the time, right? Like I do an undeniable live with people like you, Brandy. You
Yeah.
have to be on my, yeah. So into my Facebook page so that I can
Yeah.
have women and do Q&As, because things today, this is a good thing about social media.
Yeah.
Today, there's so much more information out there that can give you hope. And once you have hope, you start to build that resilience that gets rid of that emotional exhaustion. You start to feel better about yourself and open about what the future could hold, right? And I just decided that the rest of the world was going to have to burn. Just drop it. Just done.
Yeah.
If you've ever read Glennon Doyle's book called Untamed, it's another one I recommend. She
Yeah.
calls them dirty pink bunnies. So the story in short is we are all chasing dirty pink bunnies. The story goes like this. There's a zoo, and there's a beautiful cheetah that's in the zoo, and then there's a golden retriever that is her best buddy, and they've grown up together. And what the zookeeper said was, look, she sees the dog chase the little pink bunny, and now we're training her to chase the little pink bunny, because that's what we're trained to do.
Yeah.
And so Glennon's daughter was in watching the zookeeper, and then when the exercise was over, the cheetah goes back into her cage, and there's a big hill in the cage, right? And she goes up to the top of the hill, and her girl Tish says, Mom, look at how that cheetah is standing, like the king of the world, like just majestic and all that.
Yeah.
It was a total difference from chasing dirty pink bunnies.
Yeah.
So the cheetah is born to be a strong, powerful cheetah,
Mm-hmm.
not a person chasing what other people think they should chase. And so it's an important and joyful experience to be able to say, I'm on this planet for a reason. And I am not going to spend one more minute chasing a dirty pink bunny or anything that looks like that.
Yeah.
I am going to be myself, like a cheetah standing on the top of the mountain going, this is what I do. This is what I was born for. And I am going to explore what I am and what I can do. And I think it's amazing. It was amazing to me, the impact that started. Like I started doing podcasts. I started, just talking to people about, well, how do you feel about this? It's amazing. Suddenly things come together. Had I not stopped in 2019, I think my COVID outcome would have been a lot different.
Right, because stress has an amazing impact on your body and not in a good way.
Right?
So anything
It steals from you.
it does. It
Yeah.
does.
So it's like
It does.
drinking gasoline, kind of. I can feel
Yeah.
it. I can feel the toxins when I get to that point.
Yeah.
That's another thing that once you get in tune, like we have been highly attuned to fear.
Yeah.
In the same way, it's because your body learned. So you can teach your body to be highly attuned to, I'm in a fear kind of circumstance.
Right.
Right? Oh, how do I know that? Well, I feel flush suddenly. Me, adrenal.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, oh, I felt flush. Or why can't I figure this out? Like
Yeah.
I feel confused. My brain is cloudy. Right?
So you're
What have I done?
having a fear-based response at that moment.
Absolutely. And you know that the chemistry is being poured in
Yeah.
to you, right? And so you can stop that. It only takes a thought to put you into fight or flight. And so that was one of the key things for me when I started. And the thing that I know, this is not like medical advice by any stretch, but I can tell you as a human going through, all right, universe, show me what you got.
Yeah.
Like how afraid can you be? Because really, if I was being a critic of myself, I'm in the emergency room and I can't do it. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like I could have just called myself a loser, right? I could have just
Right.
gone, fine, you're old and you're done. What
Mhm.
now? That was not an option to me.
And just called it a day. And this is the way it's going to be. And it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But if anybody tells me it is what it is,
That's not something you accept.
yeah. And just because these
Yeah.
these are the silly things that people say. That's how it's always been. Well, that's how we learned it. That's how we do it. Those are
That's
definite.
really infuriating to me. I was never one that readily accepted those explanations. And even like to this day, I'm very different than most of my friends, most of the moms that operate within, the confines of my kids' schools and their friend groups and things like that. I have no problems questioning the status quo at all.
But you're an empowering person too, right? So I mean,
I don't like taking things at face value.
right? I mean, and you've learned why,
Especially if it's not working. Like, this
right?
doesn't make sense. Why can't we do it differently? I
That's
probably
right.
drive a lot of people crazy, which is fine, but
Yeah, I'm with you, girl. I'm with you. I mean, for me, it is all about living your best life,
yeah.
the life that you are here to live.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long. I mean, with honestly, in my program, 90% of stress related anxiety symptoms are gone within the first 90 days.
Wow.
Lots of them within the first 60 days. And it's about getting centered in who you are and what you need.
Yeah.
Developing
Which
that sense of
sounds
self.
so simple.
Yeah. Yeah. But that just gets you so that you're
Functional.
prefrontal cortex. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
function. Then we start to actually create a life that is in alignment with
Yeah.
who you are and what you really
And
want.
sometimes you just need support doing that. I feel like sometimes it could be very overwhelming when it's just you trying to ask yourself these questions and implement these changes and whatnot. So having a teammate is really important. So where just to kind of wrap up, because I think that's a really great place to kind of end, where can people find you to work with you and to let you be kind of this person that helps them along the way?
So my website is theundeniablebrand.com. Undeniable because there are certain things
Yeah.
that are undeniable. And to me, what's undeniable is what you were born to do. And when you get in line with that, then the sky's the limit. If
Right.
it's undeniable, so everybody has that in them.
Yeah.
Let's see, so I'm on all the social media channels, and for your clients, if anybody wants to talk to me about nutrition well, you're like the nutrition guru.
Well,
Anything, seriously,
I'm
I
very
would
much
call
like you. I try to help people get to the bottom of their stress and help implement these changes that maybe are exemplifying their their
Yeah,
stress
yeah.
responses. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, if they want to talk to me about anything
Yeah.
on my journey, any of that,
Yeah.
to me, there are 7.8 billion people in the world, and we get to meet maybe 10,000.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's a make a difference minute. So, if you want to call, you can go on my website, theundeniablebrand.com, book a call. It's a 30-minute call, and I will do what I can to make a difference.
Yeah.
And there's no obligation at all, but it's my way of making a difference in the people that I get to work with, because I
Yeah.
think it's so important.
That's amazing. Well, Rhonda, this has been phenomenal. I think
Thanks.
your journey, like I said before, I think it's really important for those of us that have been able to go through these things and heal, that we are able to help others along the way, be the people that, we kind of needed at the beginning. So it was
Yeah,
an absolute
absolutely.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Same here. Talk soon.